Welcome, everyone. This is John Ryan. This is the NBA Triple Double Show for June the 1st, 2022. And as always, I'm pleased to have my good friend and pal, Ronald Cabang, on the show. Ronald, welcome to the show. How are things going for you these days? And anything special that you have going for yourself over at Sports Memo today?
Yeah, well, still, we were just talking right before this. Actually still doing well in the NBA, positive in the NBA as far as units wise. I think I'm still in the top four, top five in the NBA for Sports Memo. Wager Talk, you started off the season real hot, had a bad day yesterday, but hopefully we'll bounce back and get back to it in the WNBA. But really excited for the NBA Finals here.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Certainly, game one here with the Warriors. It seems to be a definitive matchup of experience versus no experience. First time the Celtics have been to the finals since 2010 season. And the Warriors have now matched the NBA's all-time best, Chicago Bulls, making their sixth appearance in the last 8 years, Ronald. It's hard to believe. I actually had to check that in the database a few times just to make sure that it was right. But they are seasoned, and they kind of know how to win this thing. They've won 3 over the last 7 seasons. This is the 8th that they've been in it. And I think, if anything, off the top of the show here, there's value in betting the futures market on the Warriors to win this whole thing just because of experience. Experience is immeasurable at this level here in the finals. What do you think about that idea? I see the Warriors are about minus 160, minus 165, which is exactly the same as game one.
Yeah, I know. So me, for myself, I'm not really a big futures guy. I like to take these games one by one. But like you said, I think the Warriors do have that experience factor here that gives them the advantage, right? Even at the coaching from the coaching perspective as well. With Kerr being here, what is this, the 10th? I don't know how many finals you just mentioned it, but the number of finals and the number of playoff games and game ones that he's been in, he just has that advantage over the Celtics here.
Yep.
As far as preparing for a game one, that such a key game. I look back at NBA Finals histories, and it looks like um, the teams that win games 1 and 2. If a team wins game 1 and 2, they end up winning 31 out of 36 times in the NBA Finals history. So the team that wins 1 and 2, they usually win the championship. That's a very high rate. And in my opinion, with I don't know if I'm going too far into this now, John, but in my opinion, I think the Warriors can take game one. Right, they have the rest advantage here. This is something that helped me win game one of the conference finals. Teams coming off a series that ended early versus a team coming off a series that went the full 7 games since the 2018-2019 NBA playoffs. 8-2 straight up, 7-3 against the spread. That's including the 2-0 straight up and against the spread this current playoffs with the Warriors and Heat in the conference finals. So that bodes well for the Warriors here. And historically, like we mentioned, the Warriors have a lot of history in the playoffs, right? And since the 2014-2015 playoffs, this is when this is while Kerr is still the coach. Warriors are 10-1 straight up and 9-2 against the spread as single-digit home favorites in game ones of NBA series, a playoff series. So for me, a lot of signs are pointing towards the Warriors, at least for this first game here. That's the way that I would look. And, with them winning that first game, that gives them an advantage already, especially with having that home court advantage. To me, the Warriors would probably be the way that I look in the first game and on the series.
Yeah, I agree 100%. The home team here in game one is 19-2 straight up, 17-4 against the spread. That's 81% winners over the last 21 NBA Finals, and the under is 12-7 with 2 pushes. That translates to 64% on the under. So those trends are formidable, to say the least. And I really don't see a way that you don't back Golden State here in game one. And to your point, the winner of game one has a very high probability then of winning the whole series, and especially if they win the first 2 home games. Mm-hmm. And I'll give you a little history lesson here, only because I'm a little bit older than you, and I was alive at the time that this actually occurred. This is the first finals to match up the 2 top defenses in terms of defensive efficiency since the 95-96 season, when guess who, the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan defeated the Seattle Supersonics 4-2. And in the mid-90s, as we know, the pace of play was much, much slower. It was much, I think, actually probably more physical. The officiating, allowed teams like Detroit and Bill Laimbeer to, basically bully their way across the court. I mean that as a compliment. It was fun to watch them play that way. But I do enjoy the modern style better. But the league average that year, Ron, was 99.5 points. And only 3 times in the 6 games that they played in that finals did a team score more than 100. The Bulls took a 3-0 series lead before the Supersonics turned up the defensive pressure, and they held the Bulls to 87 over the remaining 3 games before the Bulls actually won it in Game 6. So that was kind of enlightening to me, too. And both these teams rank in the top 2, 1 and 2. The Celtics are first, and then Golden State's second in defensive efficiency on the season, including the playoffs. And I think it's going to be a pretty darn good series. I don't think this is necessarily going to go I guess it has the potential to go 5-1. I mean, if you're betting the futures or betting the prop bets, I mean, that could be something to consider.
4-1? Are you talking about the series?
Yeah, 4 in 5 games. In other words, win in 5 or win in 6. But I think it has the potential to be. Yeah, we saw the Celtics and the Heat, for example. The road team won 5 of those games. I don't think that's going to happen in this series. I think you're going to see, betting lines like we're seeing, -3.5. And then if the Warriors win game 1, it probably jumps to 4.5, 5, depending on how much they win by. And then when it goes back to Boston, Boston will be favored by 3 or 3.5. In the same scenario, again, if they win game 3, then stands to reason they'll be a little bit bigger favorite come game 4.
I think depending on how if the Golden State Warriors win game 1 and depending on how they win, there's even a likelihood that the line goes back down. I think one of the reasons why we're seeing one of the reasons why the line is where it's at, I think there's that rest advantage baked into this currently, in my opinion. I think there is. So there might be these 2 teams are really evenly matched. I know the pace of play is a little bit different, but as far as offensive and defensive efficiency, I think they both match up pretty well, in my opinion. A lot of the numbers on the Golden State Warriors side, if you're looking at full season, I think it's a little bit. I think both teams. I think a lot of the numbers offensively are kind of mixed because of the roster makeup that they had throughout the regular season. I know obviously we missed Klay Thompson the first half of the season. A lot of the lineups has changed, right? And to me, I think we in this NBA Finals we got to look at the matchup itself, who's available, because I don't think we see the same type of lineups that we did in the conference finals. I think we're going to see a lot more guys off the bench that are going to be different. We might see Aaron Nesmith from Boston play a little bit more because the Celtics are, the Warriors are a little bit more guard heavy, and they're going to need that defensive aspect on the wing. And we're going to see Gary Payton come back from injury. We're going to see Kuminga as well. I think, in my opinion, a little bit more here. He's really lengthy and he's mobile. He should be able to play a lot of heavy minutes, not heavy minutes, but like important minutes defensively against the wing players over in Boston. So we're going to see a different lineup for both of these teams here, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I definitely agree 100%. I agree with what you said earlier that Curry has the advantage. And what I failed to mention in my history lesson is that he was on that Bulls team in 95, 96. So isn't that something? I mean, it's just kind of a neat little, it's not going to make you any money at the window, but it's kind of a neat little, conversation piece. Now, the one thing with rest, I did a little background on that. I'm going to augment a little bit what you said there. The Warriors coming into this finals with 6 days of rest, and only 4 other finals had a team with 6 or more days of rest entering game 1 over the last 20 NBA finals. The Warriors actually account for 3 of the 4 of those 20 finals. San Antonio was 2 of them. So in game one of the 2005 finals, the Spurs hammered the Detroit Pistons 84-69. And no, that's not a halftime score. That was the full score of the game. They covered easily as 5.5-point favorites, and the under went under by 26 points as a 179-point total. I can't even say that without kind of smiling. 179 for a total. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
The Spurs went on to win the NBA championship. 2007 NBA Finals, the Spurs won game one, 85-76, covered as 7.5-point favorites. The under again went under by 19 points, and the Spurs went on to win the NBA championship. So you have 4 for 4 teams here that won game one, came into the finals with 6 or more days of rest, and went on to win the championship. And the one that is really intriguing to me, Ronald, is the 2015 finals. The Warriors had exactly 6 days of rest going up against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who swept their way to the Eastern Conference Championship and had 7 days of rest, but it didn't matter. It seems like 6 is the lucky number, not 7. The Warriors covered as 6-point favorites in the first game, 108-100. And as we know, they went on to win and defeat the Cleveland Cavaliers 4-2 in that championship. And then most recently, in 2017, the Warriors won game one, 113-91, in a rout of 22 points as 7.5-point favorites. They covered by 14.5, and the under again went under by 21 points. The Warriors won that series 4-1. So does history repeat, do you think, or is this just a fun little topic to have while drinking IPAs at night?
To me, I mean, like, I think we're both trend guys, so we like to think that history does repeat itself. But trends are trends. Sometimes they're made to end. But so for me, like, it's just one game at a time. Take as much information as possible on both of these teams, because like we mentioned in the show before, the further we get here into the playoffs, right, we're seeing less teams, and obviously now in the NBA playoffs, it's just these two teams. We could find angles backing both sides. We could also find angles backing both the over and the under. So it's really, how you digest that information and taking it game by game, and really at this point, focusing on the matchups that we have on the court.
Yeah, I love it. And there's a few angles here that are just resources for, hopefully our viewers will take advantage of it. They can use it as they wish. These are right from our databases, and some will have value to you, and you're entitled to have your own opinion and use your own experience to determine who you're going to take in game one or the series. And that's what we're trying to do, is provide a resource here of educational material. It's going to help you be a better. So, for MVP, I wanted to touch upon that too. Being the contrarian that I am, it seems too obvious that Steph Curry would be the MVP if they win. It's hard to make a case that he wouldn't be either. In hindsight, I wish Jimmy Butler would have been voted the MVP, because I think he is the most valuable player on the floor. You can make a case that Tatum might have been the best player per stats and that kind of stuff, but overall, there's no question in my mind, Butler was the man. I mean, he left everything on the floor there in game 7. If he hadn't already left everything on the floor in game 6. So you got to admire that kind of tenacity. And I bet you the Sixers really miss having him on their team.
Yeah.
So with the MVP, I have the betting odds here. Jason Tatum plus 170, Steph Curry minus 110. I would never lay money on a prop bet like that. I mean, that almost tells me that Curry's not going to win it because it's just too popular a choice. But Jaylen Brown plus 11-1 seems to be good. It would be pretty cool if Klay Thompson at 18-1 would win it, because look at 2 years he's gone through pain and suffering of rehabilitation of an Achilles that was, arguably going to end his career. He's back now and he's playing pretty darn well. That would be a pretty cool story. And even Jordan Poole, 35-1. I can make a case for that. But do you see any other names that you like? Marcus Smart, 40-1 seems to be just too much of a long shot. If you're looking at the Kentucky Derby, you're going to bet a 40-1 horse, or you're going to wait for the 80-1 horse to bet when that comes in as a substitute.
I mean, I think so. For me, if it would be on the Celtics side, if the Celtics win and we're looking at the MVP there, I think like you said, it's hard to pick the favorite to win it, right? So on if Celtics were to win, the favorite to win the MVP would be Tatum. The
Yep.
next person would be Brown, and then after that would be Marcus Smart. To me, if the Celtics win, it would be because of defense, right? And it would be having to stop Stephen Curry from going off. And from my understanding, Marcus Smart has been able to do that this season. Not only this season, but throughout his career, he's taken defending Stephen Curry as something personal. And if he can stop Steph Curry and do his part in managing the game, and doing that, plus what did you say it was plus 30 plus
40 to 1 for
3,000?
Marcus Smart.
41, yeah. 40 to 1. You take that defensive aspect of it and you bring in, what he can add to the table on offense. If the Celtics win, that might be a good bet. I mean, look at what Iguodala did, when the Warriors won a
Yeah.
few years ago, right? That's something that was
Yep.
unexpected. What did he do? He stopped the best player on the other team. So I mean, if you look at that aspect of it, I think that's something that you could probably uh, look for if you're a Celtics backer. On the Warriors side, Stephen Curry would have to go off, but like you said, putting money on a favorite like that it's tough, especially something that's so um, not as it's pretty unpredictable. You don't know the whole series if he's going to go off. Klay Thompson at 1100 plus 1100 or 11 to 1, I think it was. I think we're seeing different odds, but yeah, I think I wouldn't take the favorites either. I would probably look down the line and see who the X factors
Yeah.
are. So yeah, that would probably be the way to go for me as well. I think Jordan Poole, I really love Jordan Poole's game, but I don't think he has the ability to impact the game on both sides to win it. So yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one, but for me, I mean, if you're a Celtics backer, Marcus Smart would be an awesome play.
Yeah. I agree 100%. If you think they're going to win it, I think that's the certainly the value is there. And even Andrew Wiggins at 40 to 1 is an
Yeah,
intriguing
Wiggins.
opportunity too.
If he gets a call to stop Tatum or Brown,
Yeah.
and he gets that job done, and he provides 15 and 7 or something like that. I think that's enough to do it. Like I keep going back to Iguodala as
Yeah.
that example. I mean, he really did a great job stopping LeBron that year, and that was the key factor that got him the MVP award. So it's definitely possible.
Yeah, I agree. And one other prop that I want to look at before we end the show here, Ronald, is the series leader after 4 games. I'm looking at BetMGM. Warriors plus 160, Celtics plus 240. So in other words, after 4 games, the Warriors would be leading 3 to 1, Celtics leading 3 to 1, Celtics getting plus 240. But the series tied is plus 140, which is just slightly lower than the Warriors being up 3 games to 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of think that if anything here, it obviously we're talking about prop bets, so there's no modeling with this kind of stuff. But if I had to flip a coin, I would flip a coin between the Warriors and the series being tied. I don't think the Celtics will be up 3 games to 1. Of course, I could be wrong, but series tied
Yeah.
plus 140 isn't too bad for a $10-20 bet.
No, it definitely isn't a series title. What was the odds for 3-1 or for Warriors to be leading?
Plus 160.
Oh yeah, if you get either one of those, you would be up, right?
Yeah, that's
I
what
mean
I'm
that makes
thinking.
sense. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to consider that one at the window too. Let's do one last one. Series will end in exactly how many games? And the market is telling us here at BetMGM that it's going to end in more than likely 6, because
Mhm.
4-game sweep by either the Celtics or the Warriors is at plus 700. Series ends in 5 games by either team, plus 275. 6 games, plus 170, which is the lowest, and 7 games, plus 210. So the market is telling us that the betting community thinks that 6 or 7 games is the series. I agree with that, but do you think it's worthwhile to take a bet on 5 games at plus 275, for example? I don't think it'll be a sweep.
I don't think
I think
it'll
that's
be a sweep.
but
I don't think it'll be a sweep, and I don't think it's gonna go 7 games either. I think, in my opinion, I think it goes 6 games. Here's one thing that a lot of people say. I want to, before we end, one thing that a lot of people say is they want it to go 7 games because the NBA is all about money and making money and all that stuff. The NBA Finals, or the NBA Finals, 75 years of playoffs, right? So I was looking at this last
yep,
night. 75 years of playoffs. 19 out of the 75 NBA Finals have gone to 7 games. That's only about 25%. So,
that's very interesting.
so that's
Yep.
just to show, yeah, the NBA wants to make their money, but the teams are the teams, right? If one team has a clear advantage, it's going to end a lot sooner than 7 games. It's not a conspiracy to make it go 7 games just for them to work, to make extra money on ads and stuff like that. 25% is is a percentage that I would say I don't think it's going to go 7 games.
I would lean definitely on 6. So I agree with you on that too. We'll have to maybe do a double pizza or double pepperoni, and double cheese. That's what we'll do.
Yeah.
It's serious. I think it's going to be. I can't wait for it to start tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's gonna be
Personally,
fun.
I've heated up in Major League Baseball. Ronald, I'm on a 6-0 win streak. I won a 5%er last night on an underdog called the Cincinnati Reds, which if you would have asked me if my models or myself would have listened to betting the Cincinnati Reds back in April, I would have thought, you better commit me to a psychiatric unit pretty quick. But they actually pulled it off. They took a 2-0 lead in the 9th and held on, and I'll take it. I'll definitely take it. But NBA, we lost a 10%er with the Heat, and that final shot by, I have to admit, that was one of the, most of the time I'm just kind of laid back watching, and, you win, you lose, you win, you lose. But
Yeah.
when he launched that sucker, boy, I thought, oh my God, he's going to do it. It was almost like watching Brady. You know what I mean? Granted, Butler hasn't won as many world championships, but didn't it feel like Butler was just saying, I am not going to lose this game, and just get out of my way, and we're going to win.
This is my thought. This is my thought on that shot specifically, because a lot of people talk about it. He played every single minute of that game, and I think he kind of felt that he was gassing out, and in that moment he was probably like, we got to either win it or lose. It's either a win or lose moment at this time. I think if they go to the overtime, he was going to be done. He was going to be out of it, and obviously their chance to win it was at that moment, especially with the momentum that they had. So I think in his head right there, he felt like he had to win it. Otherwise he knew they were going to lose in overtime. I think that's what I thought was going on in his head at that moment. So that's my take on that. And I don't blame him. I feel like if he was dead tired and he wanted to finish it at that moment, that 3 in or out was probably the right decision for him, his choice. So
Yep.
yeah, that's my thought.
Yeah, and I agree 100%, because at the end of the day, a superstar wants the ball and wants to win the game. I mean, you played in your driveway as a kid. That's what you pretended to do,
Yep.
It 3, 2, 1, and you shoot it, right? And you just keep playing that over and over your head. And I commend him for having the balls.
And it's not like it was a terrible shot. He wasn't fading away.
No.
He was stepping into a shot with rhythm. It's not a bad shot, in my opinion. It was just a choice that he had to make. You know what I mean? Like, win or lose right there, that's the choice that he made. And I respect it. I mean, obviously he killed it all season long. I'm not going to second guess his thought process in that shot right there.
I agree 100%. And if he goes into the paint, I think that's what the talking heads that we hear talk about this and complain that he did the wrong. He's going to get freaking hammered at the rim. So then he has to go to the line after getting hammered. And people don't understand how hard that is. When you get hammered and you go to the floor hard, and then 30 seconds later, you got to make a foul shot in that kind of pressure situation, there's no guarantee he would have made both of them anyway.
Yeah. That pressure also at the free throw line. Because like when you're playing with adrenaline, jumping or stepping into this 3-point shot, you're really not thinking about anything else. When you get fouled, if you get fouled and you don't get the end one, and you're going to the free throw line for 2 shots with the NBA Finals on the line, there's a lot of things going on in your head. That's a lot of pressure. And like you said, it's not going to be a guarantee either way. either way, it wouldn't be a guarantee. So, but to me, I respect his decision.
I
I'm
do
not gonna
too.
second guess it. Dude killed it all series long. So, you know,
Yeah, he's a superstar stud in my opinion. That's for sure. Tremendous heart.
yeah.
Anyway, that'll conclude our show for today, Ronald. I appreciate your time as always. And we're going to be back again tomorrow, I believe, to break down the individual game a little bit more, see if anything has changed with the betting lines and the totals, which I'm sure it will. But until then, remember the two things I always say: bet with your head, not over it, and may all the wins be yours.